So like I said, go over this for the real estate in the Austin area, and you just that, and then we'll kind of go into the portfolio through the introduce back the militarymillionaires.com, how you do, stuff like that, kind of bring those two together as far as into the real estate. And
I think what would be helpful is because the veterans that sign up for the program, I'm going to connect. A lot of them are from Texas, a lot of them from Florida, right? A lot of them are from these states, and I'm gonna connect them with local agents after I educate them on creative finance structures. So if they're an agent and like you said, 18% of sales went down 18% this year. If you're looking for clients, talk to the Military Millionaires, get in touch with us, because we're going to pre-qualify them, and then we'll show you the list of what you're, because we can give you an affiliate link. You can build bring 5 veterans or 4 veterans, and you'll know that every single one of those is a buyer, right? So you'll be able to make a commission off of that. Plus, on top of that, we give you 50% commission because it's a $600 course that we charge, so you get $300 per. And then on top of that, we show them how to refinance it. So every 7 months, you have access to the VA loan again.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah. So, yeah, and like I said, we'll just kind of kick that in and go from there. Like I said, it's kind of the same concept. So, all right. Hello, Austin, Texas. You're listening to the Home Team with Troy and Wyatt. We're bringing sports and money together for your education and entertainment. If you have any questions about anything we say today, please reach out to me at loansfromtroy.com or give me a call at 855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing your American dream. That segment right there, that's typically said by Wyatt. So I had to kind of catch my breath right there beforehand, Wyatt's off, I don't know, gallivanting, I'm sure. So today we've brought on Ernesto Gerardo with he's the militarymillionaire.com is how you get a hold. Yes, because more than one. And that's how you get a hold of him. But he's here because one of the things that he does, that he offers veterans, is how to work the real estate world. He teaches them how to use their VA benefits to acquire and rental properties, which they live in, those sort of things. So, it's a perfect time right now, because there's a lot going on in the real estate world right now in the greater Austin area. Right. Currently, the median sales price is at $452,000, which is 4% year over year reduction, right? Now, does that mean that the homes are depreciating? It's hard to tell, with that number, because that's where half the homes sold below, half the homes sold above. There's just not as many people buying $800,000 houses now as there was 18 months ago. So that could be that. But one of the things that is we were having some really positive news. So in July, the sales year over year, the closed loans, that's the number of transactions, was about break even, right? It was just a few more. Last month, in August, there was a 1% increase in closed sales. So you start year over year, so you're like, hey, we hit the bottom. We hit we're peak to trough, as they like to say in the mortgage industry. So we're at the trough, and so we should start climbing back out of this. But then a lot of good news came out for the jobs market, which is interesting, because they changed in January how they do the jobs market, right? They changed how they report the numbers and how they do seasonal adjusted averages and stuff like that. So it's hard to tell, because it'll take a couple years to kind of get year over year numbers and stuff like that, because they changed it. But it's a lot of positive news, and so that sent mortgage rates spiraling almost out of control. They tap, conventional down payment assistance programs tapped 9% at one point. So a lot of people, they just kind of backed off, and the closed sales in September 23 year over year was down 18%. That's a big drop. So what does that mean? That means to the standard buyer, in my opinion, there are currently 10,000 homes on the market. That means that 10,000 people need to sell their house, and they will be a little bit more negotiable than they were last month. So if you're a buyer, other than the current interest rate, you have a lot of power. You can ask for a lot of things and stuff like that. But you do have to, navigate the interest rate, because you're going to have to keep that for about a year and then refinance out of it later. But you could get a good deal on a house now that you can't get in 6 months from now if the rates fall. So but with that, active listings are about 10,000, 2,300 are pending sales. So that means there's literally about 8,000 homes in the greater Austin area that are available. Now, of those 8,000, a couple thousand are to be built that aren't ready yet. So there's 6,000 homes. So there's a good solid 3 months of inventory all of a sudden. Which is nice. Average days on market is 65 days. So again, now's a good time if you're a buyer, right? Yes, yeah. Everybody says you do have to navigate the higher interest rates, but again, that interest rate is very temporary.
Well, it's also if you learn some creative finance strategies like what I teach to my realtors, right? Mm-hmm. If you go to a seller and you say, hey, look, your property's been on the market for 100 days, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, you're represented by whoever, but nobody's biting, so you have to pull it off the market, because then now you're competing with newer listings on the market, right? Mm-hmm. So you're becoming an expired listing, and you go off the market. But if I'm a creative finance person, I go up to them and I say, hey, why don't you seller finance me this for the next 2 years? Mm-hmm. I'll pay you 2% interest rate, so you act as the bank. I'll pay you whatever the mortgage comes out to. Let's say it's $500,000. Let's say they're paying you your monthly payment plus 2% interest. Okay, so now you're acting as the bank. Now you're getting more money than if you would, just renting it out as a tenant, right?
Right.
Plus, on top of that, that when the interest rates come back down, which they will in the next couple of years, then they'll be able to qualify for a loan at a better interest rate, and then you'll get paid out a lump sum. Yeah. Right? That's called lease option, right? Mm-hmm. Leasing with an option of purchase. Yep. So certain strategies like that are additionally what I teach realtors, because that allows them to get into more deals, and then it allows them to service more people, because a lot of people now that are selling their properties in Austin either have close to paid off mortgage, or lower interest rate from when they had previous years, right? So some of these deals and strategies is what I teach for ARIA. That's the Asian Real Estate Association of America. Okay. I'm Samoan and Mexican, so I'm a Pacific Islander, and I teach it every Wednesday on Facebook, and also that's what I teach my veterans on the Military Millionaires as well.
Okay, yeah, no, the lease option is a big deal. Rent to own quarter is the very common terminology. Right. That there, if done incorrectly, is trouble.
In the
right?
state of Texas,
yes.
The state of Texas is a pain in the butt. But there's a certain wording and stuff that has to be done, but there's always ways to get around it.
Yeah, like I said, but you can do it. Right. You just have to do it correctly. So my advice is, if you're listening to this, you're like, I'm going to reach out to a professional. Definitely somebody like yourself, Ernesto, at themilitarymillionaires.com, or on Instagram, it's Military Millionaires Method.
And my personal Instagram is Ernesto G. Gerardo, Gerardo. Reach out to me, DM me, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, you don't want to go into that. You don't want to go into that not knowing what you're doing.
Exactly.
It is a great program, especially now, because there are a lot of people that don't want to sell their house because of the interest rates and everything else, but they would definitely look to lease to sell.
So I wrote a book called Infinite Returns. Mm-hmm. It's a book. It's a 2-time award-winning book, Infinite Returns, and it talks about some of these strategies from a creative writing standpoint: pre-foreclosure acquisitions, subject to, lease options, Airbnb, credit repair. So it talks about some of these items. If you want to read that book, it's not a very big book, about 110 pages, but it gives you a good overview, a good overall picture, and it talks about it from a creative finance structure. So it's not just boring like A, B, or C. It's actually pretty creative.
Yeah, absolutely. I've read some books now because I love self-help books, and I've read some, and now they're starting to deliver them in a story as opposed to just information. Right. And I really absorb the story better, and exactly. I'm like, because and so it makes a lot of sense.
That's why Rich Dad Poor Dad was so effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a story, exactly. And I love that, and we will definitely delve into that because like I said, Kiyosaki is one of my more formidable mentors, even though he's not a mentor, but somebody that I developed a lot of things based off of his teachings, his methods and stuff like that. As far as for the real estate industry, you had talked about how you were helping veterans with VA loans. A lot of veterans don't realize that they can buy multi-units, and actually the guidelines that the VA handbook that handles the guidelines for mortgages, it is more advantageous or easier for a veteran to buy a multi-unit than it is for a normal person to buy 100%. One going FHA or conventional. I bought my first fourplex. I bought as a VA. Lived in 1 unit for 2 years, and then and then turned it into a rental. Refinanced it, turned it into a rental. It's a time when fourplexes, people are fighting all over those things for them now, and I bought it like that. And one of the things is, underwriters are like, well, you don't have any rental history and things like that. VA doesn't care.
Nope.
They require the underwriter to use the rental history of the fourplex,
Right.
no matter what the veteran does. So
Right.
all of a sudden I went from barely qualifying to like, hey, this thing cash flow is great.
Not only that, but when it is time to refinance, the fourplex helps you qualify because it's an income producing property.
Yeah.
Just like Robert Kiyosaki said, a house is a liability. It's not an asset because it's a debt. It takes away. It doesn't provide income. A fourplex inherently, if you manage it right, should be providing you cash flow.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I've been trying to help, especially younger people. I'm like, hey, look, go buy a duplex.
Right.
Go buy it FHA if you can.
Right.
You have to be able to move into it within 60 days. Same rule for the VA. You can't evict somebody to buy it, so that makes it a little bit harder. But do that, live in it for a couple years. And then rent your side out and move into another one. And I've helped a few people do that. Now, listen, I've got some people coming back, and they've got 7 or 8 properties, and they're snowballing their debt, and they have properties that are paid off.
So not only that, but listen to this, right? If you buy a fourplex or a triplex or even a duplex, and you hold on to it for 2 years, and then you refinance, you get your VA loan back, or you can do 2 things. You can 1031 exchange that property into an equal or greater, right? So if your home appreciates, you could potentially buy 2 duplexes, and or if you want, you can cash out refinance, right? You can cash out refinance the equity, or if you've been there for 2 out of the 5 years. If it's under $250,000, you don't have to pay any taxes. Now you have a lump sum of money, plus you have your VA loan back, and you can go do more acquisitions.
Absolutely, yeah. And on the cash out, that just so people understand, Texas has some goofy laws when it comes to cash out. They will not allow you to cash out on an income producing property.
Right, which is insane.
Yeah, so if you live in a duplex and you only own that duplex, you cannot do a cash out in the state of Texas because it has to be an investment cash out. But with the Texas homestead law so heavily lean towards the primary resident, banks they won't mess with it.
Right.
So that's what that is. So you have to have a different place to live than that duplex to be able to take a cash out on that. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, and that's why we teach multiple strategies, right? That's why we're talking about 1031 exchange, and that's why we're also talking about being able to sell it if you live in there 2 to 5 years. You don't pay any property tax. Any taxes up to capital gains up to $250,000 or $500,000 if you're married.
Yeah, that's a big number too. People talk to me about that all the time because that capital gains, it directly flows over to your personal income. So the more you make, it could be 15% or it could be 25%.
Yeah.
So and that capital gains is part of what determines whether it's 15 or 25. So there's like I said, if you're interested in this, do not do this alone. Reach out to Ernesto Gerardo, sorry, my bad, at themilitarymillionaires.com. Hey everyone, you've been listening to Troy and Not Wyatt. Hit the home team. We hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. If you have any questions about anything we've said, please reach out to me at loansfromtroy.com or give me a call 855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes. See you next week. I said next week. I meant in just a minute.